This is Lorenzo, and this is the Training Space Taxonomy video series, lesson number 7. It's on your exercise mat. Yes, a video on a mat. It is one of the most essential pieces of exercise equipment you'll ever own. It's the foundation for your gym, along with your store bar. And as you'll see, it will allow us to do at least 17 of the 50 gymnastics bodyweight exercises. So let's go ahead and take a look. Our floor mat is the third of 5 stationary zone equipment items that we will cover in this series. Starting to the left of our matrix, the equipment in question, as we saw, is our mat, the space, the floor, and a dedicated floor space for your mat, allowing us to do 17 mobility, stability, and strength exercises out of a possible 15, which we will categorize in one of 3 main mat-based exercise categories. Okay, so before we take a look at the specifications guide or the criteria by which we will judge what makes the perfect training mat, we first need to know what we plan on doing with that mat and where we plan on doing it. So let's go ahead, take a look at some of the exercises. We won't go through all 17, but we will explore the most important essential mat-based exercises. So for our first example, we have our hip spin up. As we can see, we're roughly using 90% of the mat just with this movement. So again, we want to look at the exercises that we plan on doing and see if the mat is going to provide us with the support that we need. We can see we're using heel, knee, ankle, cushion support in a prone position. For our second exercise, here I'm in a supine position. So I'm using the mat primarily for body support using a band. For our third exercise, technically not an exercise. This is just me sitting using the mat as furniture. Now, one of the things I recommend is that your mat stays in a fixed stationary place, because if you have to keep rolling it up or moving it out of sight, you're less likely to use the mat as often. So if you have a mat in a fixed position that's always there, it's going to invite more exercises. It's going to invite greater and more frequent utility of the mat. And so as you can see, I'm using my mat as furniture, having lunch, and I recommend the more time you spend sitting on the floor, the greater it is for your hip mobility. Next, we have me doing the tuck planche. Notice that I'm actually using the mat here for knee and ankle cushion support, while the rest of my body is not on the mat because I don't want to damage the mat with the parallettes. Notice also, many people, when they do push-ups, they actually prefer to put their hands for greater stability on the floor while using the mat for knee support. Next, we have the vertical lunge or the couch stretch. I use the mat here against the wall for knee support. For our final example, we have the supine static back, which is a daily recovery routine that I do. Here I'm using the mat primarily for body support. Typically, the static back is done with an ottoman to elevate the legs, but with the store bar, it can serve the same purpose. So I really like it for that. Now, if we look closely, we can see we're using the mat in 3 specific ways. By itself, we're using half the mat, half the floor, and then a mat against the wall. This gives us at least 3 categories by which we can classify all of our mat-based exercises. So for our first category, we have mat-independent or total body exercises, such as the hip spinner, the supine lockouts, active sitting. For our second category, we have mat-dependent or half-body mat exercises such as the planche, push-up, and many more. For our third category, we have mat-dependent or half and total body mat-based exercises such as the wall lunge and the static back. Okay, so only now that we know what we're trying to do with our mat, we have mobility exercises, stability and strength exercises, daily activities like sitting, daily recovery. Now we're ready to take a look at the specific specifications for what the ideal mat will look like. The main goal or function of our mat, as we saw, number 1, is to minimize impact on joints, allowing us to do these exercises comfortably. In terms of our specifications, now the minimum requirements for the best mat, in my opinion, is going to be a mat that is medium to high density or cross-linked chip foam, as well as heavy duty PVC for easy cleaning, but also for greater grip. In terms of dimensions and weight, I highly recommend, and this is perhaps the most important criteria for whatever mat you select, that your mat's at least 1.8 meters in length, 0.9 meters in width, and that is at least 2.5 centimeters thick. The best way to use our mat is as part of our store bar zone. So our mat plus our store bars makes a fixed zone. As we saw, mat-based exercises are compatible with using blocks, parallettes, bands, and many more. Finally, how will we store our mat? Well, that's the best part. Our mat is not going to be stored away. It's a permanent part of our training gym. It stays in front of the store bar for a very good reason. If you have to keep rolling up your mats, you're not going to use it as frequently. However, to get the best of both worlds, you want a mat like the Delano mat that is both a permanent part of your store bar zone, but that can easily be rolled up and used while traveling. So in summary, our floor mat is our mat independent, our mat dependent piece of equipment that forms part of our store bar zone, providing us with the cushion support and comfort that we need to do at least 17 exercises.